Here in Massachusetts that we have some issues with speakers being indicted and senators resigning and out-of-control spending and taxation. And then you couple what's happening nationally, and people are very concerned about good government. And I think the message that my victory sends is that anyone running, whether they be Democrat or Republican, has to start to get back to doing the people's business, and that is solving problems.
What we just talked about is landmark win in Massachusetts, and the GOP seems to be seeing a lot of momentum out of this. So should more GOP candidates take a page out of Brown's playbook for the November elections? We're back with our panel. And, Stephen, let me give you a quote from Representative Putnam of Florida. He said, "Voters have fallen out of love with the Democrats, but they haven't fallen back in love with us," meaning the Republicans. So is there a danger in the Republicans savoring this victory too much without first looking at themselves?
Well, there's always a danger with complacency. That's number one. Anytime you're complacent, that's a problem. But number two, and more importantly, harking back to 1994, the fact is that when Bill Clinton was unsuccessful in his bid to change the health care system and Newt Gingrich and those boys took over, they had the Democrats back then looking at how the Republicans were conducting themselves and saying, we can't wait until we get control again. We can't wait until we become the establishment. You'll see what's going to happen. So you've got the Republicans and the Democrats, that tit-for-tat nonsense that completely turns off the American people. The American people want problem solves. You know, for the most part, they don't trust folks at Washington. They just understand that they are representatives and we have to deal with them. They've got to step up and recognize, like a guy like Scott Brown coming out of nowhere, willing to drive his truck to the nation's capital.
The truck.
Painting himself as this ordinary guy. Painting himself as this ordinary guy. This is who I am. This is who I want to be. This is how I want to affect Washington.
Right.
They need to listen to that message.
Everyone can't drive a truck, but that will help. Can this outsider message work as we go across to Nevada, to Colorado? Can it translate?
Listen, I think the message can work anywhere if you're a committed candidate, if you're someone who doesn't take the voters for granted, and if you convince voters that you're someone who's ready to do things differently and bring about real change. I mean, if you look at the stuff that you've been showing all morning with Scott Brown, he's for basic fairness. He says he wants everybody to be insured. He's a likable guy. He's willing to do things differently. He has captured a moment where he realizes that people are desperate to do things differently, and that's why he's been so successful. Anybody can be successful. It's not a Republican thing. It's not a Democratic thing. He almost never said he was a Republican.
But let me say this also. It's a very important point that I think needs to be mentioned. If you look at whether it's Ben Nelson or it's Joe Lieberman, the way some people had accused them of hijacking the health care bill, the only good thing that came of that is that you saw the power that a representative could have in terms of shaping policy. Absolutely. So when you look at Scott Brown coming from Massachusetts and you realize the kind of impact he had on those people and that he's coming to Capitol Hill, if he comes there with the right state of right frame of mind, and it's already been shown that one individual can sort of rock the system, that's a very, very good message for the American people to see, because it will help other folks get elected by making sure that they're spewing that form of rhetoric.
It's not that easy, of course. Right?
Everybody wants to be Scott Brown, but it's possible.
Well, I think it's been there's been a lot of changes this week. Things will have to sort out. I think the president still really wants to get something substantial done on health care. I think there's a big chance. No, I think there's a big chance of that. They will get something done.
Wow,
The cost of failure is too great.
Okay.
People want reform in health care.
Maybe down the road. I'm with you. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Richard Socarides, Stephen A. Smith, thank you both for being here. Allie?